The story is about a boy named Ranjan. He lives in Delhi with his family. Currently, Ranjan is in the second year of his college. Ranjan is a calm and peaceful boy who is lost in his own dreams most of the time. Due to his nature, he acquired a very unique hobby of observing people. He even gives thought to his own habits, like what things or daily activities he does with his right hand and which things he feels comfortable on doing with his left hand. On May 15th, Ranjan was in the examination hall giving his last external theory exam. The summer season was on its peak, making every person in that room dripping with sweat. The fans were running on their full speed, but made no difference on that heated day. It's been 20 minutes left for the examination to over, and everyone in the room, including the examiner, had only one thing running in their mind. When will the bell ring? Every Everyone was eager to leave that boiling room, but there were still 20 minutes left for the desire to complete. Until then, students have to face their unsolved problems, and teacher had to look at the students as he had got no other options left with him. Between all this, Ranjan was daydreaming sitting on his desk since he has completed his exam, but soon he decided to leave. He submitted his answer sheet and left the room 15 minutes before the end of exam. Ranjan was on the 6th floor. Aiming for a chilled cola, he started to walk down from the staircase when he heard a loud voice across the empty corridor on the 4th floor. When he entered the 4th floor's corridor, he saw a man, unconscious, lying on his back on the other end of the corridor. With a knife pierced through his chest, the man was lying just in front of the washroom, bleeding heavily. Watching this, Ranjan froze with terror, but the boy regained his senses and hurriedly called a teacher from the nearby room, carried the man and took him to the ground floor with the help of a sweeper whom they met on the 2nd floor. The teacher called an ambulance and sent the man to the nearby hospital. When Ranjan was helping to carry the man, he saw that the knife in the victim's body was pointing upwards, and he also noted some dry blood in the victim's left hand nails. The man had a tag on his shirt written accountant over it. The teacher called the cops and told them about the situation. The police inquired the three of them since all other people are either in the staff room or are examiners taking exams, and the rest of the college was filled with students. The police checked the place where the body was found. They even sent some officers to the hospital, where the man was unconscious due to heavy blood loss. While inquiring the staff members, police was also checking everyone's right hand arm. On one hand, police was confused, scratching their heads, but found nothing. And on the other hand, our little observer Ranjan was lost in his own world, thinking about the situation and the clues he gathered. Standing on one point, quiet, relaxed, leaning his back to the wall, resting his right hand in his pocket and first finger of his left hand over his lips. He thought through everything he saw on the victim's body, the actions took by the police during the inquiry. After a few minutes, Ranjan's eyes glittered and he smiled. He was almost jumping with excitement and exclaimed that sweeper has stabbed the man. Everyone in the room was surprisingly watching Ranjan with eyes wide open. The police asked him how does he know, what proof does he has. Then Ranjan asked the police officer to check the sweeper's left arm. On checking, the officer found the marks of finger and nails. Ranjan asked with excitement, "These were the marks you have been looking for on everyone's right arm, aren't you, sir?" These deep blue marks on sweeper's hand was enough to prove his guilt. The police officer thanked Ranjan with a little attitude in his tone like nothing big Ranjan has done, but despite all of his attitude, he was eager to know that how did Ranjan identify the real culprit. On that, Ranjan said, "Earlier when I was helping the accountant, I noticed that the handle of the knife was pointing upwards, like whomsoever has stabbed the accountant must have a bigger height compared to the accountant. And then I understood your suspicion over me, because my height was a perfect match for that kind of suspect. Then when you inquired me and checked my right arm, at that time, I understood why the blood in accountant's left fingernails were dried out. That blood doesn't belong to the victim, but to the culprit. And you were looking for the accountant's finger marks on everyone's hand. But the problem is that the accountant was not stabbed from the front. He was stabbed from the back. At that time, it cleared in my mind why the handle of the knife was pointing upwards. It's not because the killer has big height, but because the culprit's height is smaller in comparison to that of the accountant. So when he stabbed the accountant from the behind, the victim's shoulder came in the way, and I guess the sweeper was a left-handed man. That is why the knife was stabbed in the left chest of the victim. The police officer was amazed by Ranjan's observation skills. He praised Ranjan and patted his back as a gesture that he is proud of Ranjan and left the place.
The end.